Today we're going to be ranking the rookie wide receivers into tiers for Dynasty Fantasy Football. We're going to talk strategy. We're going to talk player value. We're going to speculate for the NFL Draft. We're going to rank these guys again right before the draft, during the draft, and after the draft. That way, you're ready for your rookie draft. Some of you guys draft on Saturday, Sunday, during the draft, right before it, and you guys need your picks. You guys need something to go off of. We'll be here for you. During the draft, I'll also be doing live reaction videos, like dropping videos nonstop during the draft, so you got a good feel of how I feel in that moment. And then, of course, I'll follow up with other videos later if my feelings change, because they will. But you got something to work off of with that channel. Hit that subscribe button if you're interested in that, because you need the information. You need the information for your draft. I'm a key resource for your rookie drafts. But here are the tiers, same as last week. The guys are randomly down before. We have a stud tier, A, B, C, my guys. Those are the guys I'm trying to draft. Next guys, those are guys that are still going around the third round or so, maybe late second, that have some upside that we're looking at, but they're not exactly my guys. Flyer guys, those are guys that we're just taking shots on. But we got to talk about our first player. We're doing this at random here today. First player coming off the board, big name prospect, Ricky Pearsall. We're just going to throw him up real quick. I like him. I love the ball skills. I love the route running. I think he's increasing his draft costs and opportunity, his value throughout the draft season, at the Senior Bowl, at the Combine. I think he's going to be a good get for an NFL team. For Dynasty, I think he's going to hold some player value for a good bit. And then after that, whether or not he'll be productive, where he lands, yada, 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 what we're going to say with a lot of players. Talent-wise, if we're ranking these guys on straight talent, he's around here-ish. If you're throwing draft value and everything, he's around here-ish. But he's going into my guy tier. I am trying to draft him. I got a lot of leagues. If I went through all those leagues and I did not draft a share of Ricky Pearsall, I would be upset. I'm at least trying to get one. I'm going to at least try and get one share, but I want more. That's why he's in that tier. It's not tiers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Who's the best? Who's that? It's according to value, how I play the game, who I want, and all that. And you go off of that. If you agree with everything I say, you're going to miss. You need to just use me as a gauge, as a tool. Going to our next player off the board here. Big time player here, Troy Franklin. I like Troy Franklin a lot. He's got good ball skills. He can get downfield. Very cerebral route runner. I think he's going to get good draft capital. Could flirt with the first round. Could be a mid-second rounder. We got to see where he goes. I think landing spot is going to be very impactful for him when it comes to hitting pure upside or just being a guy at the NFL level. When I look at him, there's no way in hell he's here. I think it's hard to make the case here. I think maybe here. I think maybe here with the chance to end up here. I don't think he can get here until maybe a couple years into his career. I don't think there's a chance of getting here. I think here's fine. Tier B. In the rankings, very good prospect, has a lot of upside, can be productive for you in fantasy, has the profile for that, but we got to see fits here, and also this is a deep wide receiver group. If you're ranked down here, honestly, you're up around here in a lot of years. A lot of guys who are here are usually ranked around here in a lot of years. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. This is also going to make this a harder wide receiver class because not all the guys are going to hit. There's a lot of guys that we like, but not all the guys are going to hit. Talking about a guy we like here, Xavier Worthy. He's got speed to burn. He's got upside. Did well at the Combine. He broke out early, age 18 breakout age. Productive throughout his career. The tape checks out. Can break off routes, create separation, can get downfield. We got a lot with this guy. Where will he go? Because he could go in the first round. Could be a mid-second rounder. We have a lot of good wide receivers. I think he's coming off the board. I have him in tier B. I think that's where he belongs. I think he belongs to fight out with these wide receivers right here. We'll have more. I think this is where he should be valued, somewhere around here. But we could move him somewhere later in the video. Moving on to our next guy. I like this guy a lot. Javon Baker. Could be the steal of the draft according to value. He's very fluid. He's got nasty ball skills. Has that my ball mentality. Very aggressive. Very assertive. When I think about him and where I think about where I should rank him, honestly, skill-wise, probably somewhere around here. Honestly. Skill-wise, yes. Yes, skill-wise. Profile-wise, maybe here-ish. But honestly, he's one of my guys. I'm trying to get him. If I go through all my leagues and he's not on one of those teams, I might have to join another league to try and get him. It's that bad. With Pearsall, with Javon Baker, that's how I feel. Moving on to our next player, we got to keep this moving. Ainias Smith. Ainias Smith. I don't have much to say about him. I'm watching where he lands. I don't regard his profile as a big-time profile or anything like that. The speed's there. He could be a jigsaw player. You can move him around a bit. Going to be a late rounder. Might sneak up the board, depending if somebody wants his versatility. I'm going to look at him as a flyer. I'm going to look at him as a flyer. Someone you're just clicking that button on to see what happens with. Honestly, that's what you're thinking. That's what people are going to draft him for. That's really where he should be ranked at. I do not want to look at these flyers and really put too much effort in ranking them or thinking about them when I know I'm just pressing buttons in the 4th and 5th round of a rookie drafts hoping for the best. What's the fucking point? If you like someone in the flyer over this flyer, just get them. Just get them. Diversify. Do what you want. Xavier Legette. Xavier Legette. He has been a player I've been thinking hard about. Because some days I'm like, maybe. And some days I'm like, maybe. And think about this. He wasn't asked to really do everything at South Carolina. And then on top of that, late breakout age. Really weird production profile. The upside's there with the sides of just athleticism. Draft capital's probably going to be there. Probably going to be a second rounder. If I'm reading the tea leaves right. When I think about his skill set, I can't put him in A. Hell no, in S. He's not as refined as tier B should be. C, I'm thinking about it. He's not really one of my guys. I might get a share or two. Next guys, maybe. Let's put him in tier C this week. Let's see how that works. Let's see how that looks like. Where he's ranked with these guys. Let's see what that looks like. That might be more legit for him. More legit for Legette. But we gotta move on here. Luke McCaffrey, come on down. Luke McCaffrey's going to be a late round pick. He's learning the wide receiver position still. We're transitioning from the quarterback spot. We've been a wide receiver for a few years now. Looked okay at the Senior Bowl. And a lot of people like to talk him up at the Combine because of his last name. He's a flyer. He's a flyer. He's not a guy you're really shooting on. You guys see where he goes. You guys see what's going on with him. But honestly, Luke McCaffrey's not a guy you're really shooting on in Dynasty. You're looking at in redraft. ADP is like wide receiver 89 in startup drafts. That's just where he's at. Now we're going to Cornelius Johnson. I don't like him at all. I don't like his release off the line of scrimmage. I don't like his production profile. I recognize he's from Michigan. He might be getting hardballed, but totally different prospect compared to Nico Collins. Not as assertive downfield. Bigger body, long limbs. Maybe he makes some changes in his game. Maybe. Of the Flyers, he's the one that I may not be taking chances on unless he catches that Kansas City Chief privilege or something like that. But we're moving on. Jamari Thrash is another wide receiver I like. I like him a lot. I like his release off the line of scrimmage. I like how he can get downfield. He's a flyer in drafts, ADP-wise, but I think he should be valued with the next guys because he's kind of like a flyer that I really want to slam that button on, and he does have some skills to his game that makes me very excited. Next player coming off the board here, Johnny Wilson. Big-bodied wide receiver, lots of upside here. Going to go in a weird spot in the draft. He's also position versatile. Could be a tight end later on down the road. That makes me highly interested in him. But I'm not going to draft players high to speculate, but no one's drafting him high. You're paying attention to him. I regard him as a top-tier flyer. It's a flyer because if he moves over the tight end, you're going to want him. People are going to be jumping at the bit to get him in the latter part of drafts because they like that upside. I like him a lot. I like Johnny Wilson. I like him. I want him on a lot of my teams. But Malachi Corley, Steve Smith likes him. If that matters to you, doesn't to me. But he's a thick boy, good in the slots, good after the catch. Be really good with a team that can move it, that likes to throw it short, that needs a dependable slot receiver that they can move on the outside a little bit. He's a G5 prospect. You have to remember that. Looked good at the Senior Bowl, but honestly, he could be that surprise player that hits on us. He's moved up the board a little bit with me, but not too high. I'm really watching the draft with him. Right here, tier C. I think that fits well with him with these players. Moving on down to our next guy, Jalen McMillan. With Jalen McMillan, you'll hear a lot of stuff about him because he's a very good route runner. Could be a sneaky play in the NFL draft for a real NFL team. After that, it really depends on situation for fantasy, where he goes in the draft and whatnot for that. But honestly, if I'm an NFL team and I'm seeing him on day 3 and the board's stacking up right, I'm getting excited about this guy because he could give me some good upside on the back end of my roster. I like him a lot. Dynasty-wise, I'm paying attention hard. That's my strategy. It's better to talk strategy than rankings, honestly. That's why we do the tiers. Dynasty-wise, I'm paying attention. He's a next guy. And I like him. I like the route running. I think he could be a good fit for a lot of teams. I think he'd help out a lot of teams in the league. I think even if you're good at wide receiver, I think he's a good guy to get. That being said, that's why I'm watching him. Because he's so good that he could land in those types of situations. It's kind of like the good worker in wrestling. That pro wrestler who's a very good worker that can really help get the match going, that you put with another guy that's selling the tickets. So you never really hear much about that wrestler. He's always on the mid cards. He's always bumping guys over. He's good enough to do that. But he's also good enough to get over. That being said, we're moving on. Let's talk about a big boy here, Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm going to say the same thing. I regard him as a top-tier talent. Pick your poisons here at the top of your draft. Superflex, pick your poison. You don't have to do anything this year. Do what you want to do. You like Marvin Harrison Jr., go do it. You like Cam Williams, go do it. You like Malik Neighbors better, go do it. Do what you want here at this draft. You're not locked into anybody. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a top wide receiver prospect. We do not see wide receivers like this come out every year. Get him. But if you like Malik Neighbors, do that too. Pick the one you want. I'm diversifying, like I say, every single week when we do these videos. Depending on how I wake up, that's my wide receiver 1. But honestly, I'm diversifying between the two. I'm playing the game how it's stacked. I think Malik Neighbors has a lot of upside. He's also very safe. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be pretty safe as well. I think they're both fantastic prospects. And honestly, I'm not going to fight over it. I think that's ignorant. But Keon Coleman, I'll fight about that. I'll fight about that all day. Keon Coleman is a weird prospect. And if I don't look at him as a weird prospect, then what am I doing? If I say he's complete trash, then that's stupid. If I say he's going to go to the moon and he's going to be the best thing ever, that's stupid. But we know draft capital is more than likely going to be there. I think he's very situationally dependent. And I think Tier C works well with him. I think so. Creating separation is a huge issue for me, but he can also create separation vertically. He can get downfield. Nasty at the catch point. The thing about this draft, I can say sweet nothings about all the wide receivers around here. If I pump Keon Coleman down, that would be me using my biases. Even though I know when I watch him on tape, I see where the good things could allow him to be a hitter. So why not just be conservative? That's why he's at C. Because he does have the potential to land here. He has the potential to land here when everything's said and done, too. Putting him here, I think that's fair. We're playing the strategies here in Dynasty. We're not playing who's the better wide receiver talent-wise, hope for the best. We're playing the strategies. Strategy-wise, Malik Neighbors. He's a generational prospect. top tier prospect, might be going in a better situation than Marvin Harrison Jr. We're watching the board. We've heard this at nauseum. Good at the catch point, good production, good downfield. Malik Neighbors is a stud tier guy. Draft him, draft him, draft him. Brian Thomas Jr. though, where should we rank him? Because honestly, he's a very fantastic wide receiver prospect. Has a lot of upside, has good speed downfield, good ball skills, good tracking ability, good release point. There is some volatility. The production profile does say that. I did have him here. I did have him here. I moved him here. I moved him back here. Am I going to keep him there? Where am I going to put him? I think landing spot could be very grand. I think landing spot could put him here. I think the downward volatility could be a little bit scary. I don't think he's a for sure thing. I think odds saying, hey, he could be very good. I think the upside is fantastic. I think B is very safe. I think that's a safe tier. I think he's safe with these guys for now. But the landing spot with the draft capital could be so grand that we have to put him in A. But we're moving on down here. Brandon Rice. Brandon Rice is a very assertive route runner who's very cheap in rookie drafts, who's going to be very cost effective in the real NFL draft. We're paying attention to that. We look at Brandon Rice here. We're paying attention to what he's doing. Brandon Rice, though, I don't want to come away with all my drafts without any shares. I think the price is going to be at a point where I'm going to get shares, and he's going in the my guy tier. And that's it. End of the discussion. That's where he's going to be at. Rome Odunze. I like him a lot. We watched him a lot during Pac-12 After Dark. Talked about him a lot in season. Has a lot of upside, speed to burn, production. Everything is there. In last year's draft, top wide receiver. He's up there. Stand out. In any other class, it'd be different. I think I want to keep these guys in the stud tier. I'm going to give him his own tier. It's not just S and A. He gets his own tier. He gets his own tier because he's that good. He gets his own tier because he's that good. Not because he's that much below S, but he's that much ahead of B. And he's that great. He gets that. How about we say that with context standards? If you have it like this, and you have them mixed in or even this, I don't care. I don't care. Do what you want. I'm not going to hate it. I think the upside's really there for him to be more productive. Because honestly, we're just looking at production. He could be more productive than these two guys. Especially if the draft goes pretty for him. We're looking at production. Wide receiver-wise, these two are better. These two are better. Profile-wise, these two are better. But production-wise, it could be here. It could be. But right now, he gets his own spot. And I think that's fine. I think that's fine. I think that's fair. I gave you the context. You're just going to have to deal with it. But Ladd McConkey, come on down. And he's very landing spot dependent for me. I see the upside. I see the size adjusted athleticism. I see the route running. I see all that stuff. I see all the same stuff you do. The thing about him is he was not productive in college. That's a major, major red flag. And when you compare him with all the other wide receivers here, we got some production. We got a lot of production in a good breakout age. Actually, Troy Franklin, we got a lot of production. Brian Thomas is the one with some production, but he's going to have better draft capital. So he doesn't really fit here. I kind of like him better than Corley, but Corley's got a different skill set to where he could pop in the right spot and be immense. Xavier Legette, I like him better than Legette. I think he's safer. Keon Coleman, both of these guys are very situational. And both of these guys are okay production-wise, but you kind of want a little bit more. Ladd McConkey didn't break out at the college level. He did have some injuries that set him back, but prorated out, it's still not good enough. I'm going to put him here at the top of Tier C. That's where he's going to be. That's where he's at. Remember, Tier C is more like here in any other draft. It's not like you're low, and we're moving these ranks around here in like a couple days anyways. Moving on down, because we have to, A.D. Mitchell. A.D. Mitchell is a prospect that can do a million different things in the league. His range of outcomes is vast. That's why you're going to catch a lot of different content creators saying this, that he's going to go to the moon. You're also going to catch a lot of different content creators saying, hey, be leery. The range of outcomes are kind of vast, but when you watch him on tape, you see the speed, you see the route running. The draft capital is going to be there. There's a lot of teams that are needing wide receivers, and there are a lot of good teams that need wide receivers, and they're drafting later, more like in his range. I think he's got some upside. He's got some range. He's got a little bit of production to him. Let's put him in B. I like him a little bit more than these guys. I think the upside's more. I want to shoot for the fences. Their draft capital is going to be there. Just looking at profile. Just look at his profile here. You watch the tape, I can definitely see how he can break out at the NFL level with his route running and speed. When I look at Tier B, I like these guys. We got some home run hitters. Not all of them are going to hit. We're going to get a hitter from B. We're going to get a buster from B. That's just the bottom line with B. One of those guys are going to bust. I'm just being real with you. One of those guys in B is going to bust. Maybe two. And maybe one's going to hit and one's going to be so-so. That's B. But the odds of that happening, of either one hitting, is pretty good. When I look at C, one of those guys are going to be a hitter, and some of these guys are going to be fodder. That's just how it's going to be. My guys, they're at value. I'm discount shopping. Next guys, they're good guys to get in those cheaper rounds. I'm not throwing them up there. They're so cheap, though. They're so cheap that I'm getting them. But we're moving on. I have to rehash the tiers because you're going to get confused because you're trying to think linear. I'm not, because I diversify assets. I play Dynasty as a portfolio player. I'm going to be very fluid. I have to be fluid because this class is so deep. Roman Wilson, though. My goodness. He was hot a few months ago. People were high on him a few months ago. Now we're getting towards the draft. You're not hearing much about him. But he's going to go in a spot in the draft where he's just going to ring that bell. And you're going to start thinking about him again. We got speed. We got route running. Production profile's not super sexy. Sounds a lot like this category. Like, these tiers are more like categories. And that category holds value. Sounds a lot like Ladd McConkey. Sounds a lot like him. I like him a little bit better. I just like him because he's a little more assertive. I like the aggressiveness. I like Ladd McConkey. He's a little bit more technical. Roman's still technical, but I like aggressive wide receivers. If you really like aggressiveness, you like him. You like him because people think he's Debo for some damn reason. But he's not. There's no Debos. Jacob Cowing. We got a good production profile here. Great breakout age. Broke out with 2 different collegiate programs. He's the next guy with me. Flyer in drafts when it comes to value, but he's the next guy for me. Jermaine Burton. Watch for him. He's got a good skill set. I'm going to get him a lot in drafts. He's not a my guy. He's the next guy. He can stretch it downfield. He's good downfield. Can command a good A-dot. Watch for him. Tez Walker, pretty much the same damn thing. I can't put him in C. He could break out. He could go somewhere nice. But he's a deep threat. He's going to be looked upon to stretch the field. He's the next guy. 3rd rounder in rookie drafts unless the NFL draft is mean to him. Jalen Polk. Good ball skills. Balled out this year. Talent-wise, you might be able to make the case for here. Draft-wise, Dynasty-wise, he's with these guys. Him and McMillan. One of those guys are going to do something, and it's really going to be situational in what happens. It's just luck. Luck of the draw. We're talking about life here, really. Sometimes bad players, or players that are not as good as other players, do better than those better players, and that's just life, and we have to account for that. We really have to. Let's just play life with this a little bit. Malik Washington. Really, draft-wise, he's a flyer. And Johnny Wilson might needs bumped up due to how I'm thinking in my head with some of these players. I like him a lot. Very technical. I think he can be a huge get for an NFL team. I think he can be great for an NFL team. And if that can translate to production, that's amazing. But I think he's going to latch onto a roster. I think he's going to do great things. I think he's going to be a tremendous value for an NFL team. Watch for him day 3, late day 2. Watch for his name. I think he's going to go a little higher than expected. I think teams are going to rush to get him. Now we're going to Taj Washington. Create separation downfield. Can command an A-dot. He's a flyer. No one's really talking about him. I am watching him. I like him better than these guys here. I think he does have a little bit of upside. I think he can be a sneaky play. But again, we are watching him. MRJ, flyer. Not really too interested, but I'll pay attention because I have to. Anthony Gold, he's another flyer. I'll pay attention because I have to. I don't need to go too deep on this. Our 3 new wide receivers this week. Again, we're so deep here. They're not big names. Isaiah Williams. Watch him. Watch his profile. Let's see where he gets drafted, if he gets drafted. But a flyer in Dynasty. I'm not going too far into the weeds here, but a flyer. Josh Cephas, same thing. Flyer. Pay attention to him. You might be drafting him, more than likely picking him up off waivers or watching him. Bud Means, pay attention. Watch him in the draft, see where he goes. We'll assess these guys later on next week, but we added 3 more wide receivers to the rankings. We are getting pretty deep here. Context is king. Being fluid is king. Having a strategy is a huge deal. Being able to pivot, being able to move around, being able to realize you're playing Dynasty and not ranking these guys because this guy is better than this guy and this guy's better than this guy, but having a range of outcomes and realizing production is what we're going after, not just who's better. And who's better could lead to production, but there's also different things. That one little skill set in the right spot could be it. That draft capital, getting that much more opportunity to prove yourself, could be it. All that stuff is baked in. We'll have more information Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'll have more rankings then too. I'm advertising the hell out of that because you need to hit that subscribe button. You need to be locked in. I'm going to have a ton of videos on that. I'm going to have a ton of videos on the draft capital, on the player values, on the rankings. I'm going to have a rankings video out almost after every round of the draft or every day of the draft. That makes more sense. Every round it's ignorant because the next round's coming up. But still, I'm going to have you clued into your drafts. A lot of you guys are drafting on Sunday, Monday, Saturday, or now. Some of you guys are drafting now. You need these rankings now. You need something to work off of. We'll have overall rankings too. You have to after the first round because you're ranking 5 wide receivers, no running backs, and like 4 quarterbacks or whatever. You need that. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.